Guys, I'm not gonna fight you. I'm here on vacation.
First of all, amazing job on Nobody 2. I had such a fun time with this movie. This movie has such a Clark Griswold meets John Wick energy to it. Hutch just wants to go on this nostalgic family vacation, and everything keeps going off the rails. What was your biggest inspiration for shaping the tone and action of the sequel?
Nice. Thank you, by the way, for saying that. That's really encouraging. You know, like when I read the script and then we kind of sat down together, you know, like especially one of our first meetings with Bob, you know, like I was saying to Bob, honestly, this feels very different from the first film, but I'm thinking Jackie Chan, I'm thinking Police Story. And then like he snaps his finger, you know what, Timo, that's exactly what I was thinking too, you know? And I'm saying like, you know, there's almost like a weird sort of like Three Stooges quality to it. And he said like, why not? Just make it R-rated, you know, like, so, you know, that's what we are going for. I think in terms of the action, we want to make it gritty and punchy, but at the same time, people have to come out of it sometimes with a giggle, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. There's no way on earth, like, I would even consider about making our hero loses the tip of his finger, you know? But the funny thing is like Bob's open to it. He's like encouraging it. Like, yeah, I want Hutch to come out messed up, and like I want for him to come out incomplete, you know. So you know we go from there, and I think for the most of it, like we managed to get out of Hutch Mansell a very flawed, a very sometimes occasionally clumsy protagonist, you know, like, and there we go.
Yeah, listen, I love that. I love that the film's action feels both brutal and comedic at the same time, and it really hits those beats. But I want to talk about the ending, because the ending reframes the title in such a fun way. We're Nobody is really about Hutch and Becca, and not just the dog. What excited you the most about pulling back the curtain on Becca's past and turning her into a true partner in crime alongside Hutch?
Again, like, you know, like reading at the script, my biggest takeaway was, all right, so essentially this is a film about a man who thinks he's a lone wolf, a man who thinks he can function completely outside the norm of having family without realizing that it's actually his family that supports him the most, you know? And I think that speaks true, especially for, you know, like for the idea that like, yeah, all this time Hutch is actually thinking that, yeah, I gotta support my family, I gotta bring them to this holiday. But ironically, in the end, his family sort of saved him, you know? And I always love that. And I think Connie, you know, like when you see somebody like Connie, especially, you don't see a damsel in distress, you know? She is a lot of things. She is definitely a woman with like a tough skin, you know, like, and when you see her, I was just thinking like, you know what? She's the perfect sort of embodiment of Hutch's crutch, you know, like she's the backbone essentially. And I think Bob agreed with that. Like, so by the end of it, like when we see them under the water, like literally like she's giving him the kiss of life. Like we feel like, yeah, we earned this moment, you know?
Right,
because
absolutely.
This is what makes us different from John Wick. You know, like John Wick is a lone wolf, he's a myth. He's literally a living myth, while Hutch is just a man who, yes, he's killing a bunch of people, but at the same time, he's not above not having family. Like he needs that, you know, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Now, look, Sharon Stone steps in as a wild, maniacal big bad in this film. What was it like directing her in such an over-the-top role, and what did she bring that elevated this franchise?
I think Sharon Stone is definitely one of those, you know, genie in a bottle moment that like we never thought we were gonna have, you know, like we were thinking about a lot of names for this Landina character, but never once we kind of like thought like, oh, Sharon will say yes to this, you know? And I think the beauty with Sharon is actually she's always turning up the crazy, you know?
Yes.
She is a woman who, you know, for the lack of a better word, doesn't give an F anymore about like what people thinks about her, you know, and that's actually a good thing. Like she is her own person. She always said to me, Timo, like, what do you think about this performance? And then she does her thing, and I was like, Sharon, I freaking love it. And like, you know, you want me to turn it up a bit more? or you want me to turn it up all the way to 12 and then past 12, you know?
Right.
And I was like, let's go for it and let's see how far you can bring it. For example, like she has her dancing scene, you know, like I never even need to direct her, you know, like too much. Like she just said, like, Timo, like I'm gonna pick this song, and then she give me her earbuds, and then like she listens to some Russian gangster rap or something, like, which is her own playlist, and she start dancing with it. I was like, all right, well, there you go. Like this is the real unleashed Sharon Stone that I really, really love, you know. I think not a lot of people realize, but like she is actually a very perfect genre woman, you know, and respect to her.
I love that. Now, Bob Odenkirk told us that he has ideas for Nobody 3 and 4. If those happen, what would you personally like to see the story go, and where would you like to see the family go next?
I said to Bob, Bob, we can go both ways. We can have the family become even more involved in your action, or we can go completely Breaking Bad. We can go. I was saying, Bob, think about this. Open in a desert, and there's a trailer park, and Hutch Mansell sits there by himself, fully bearded, holding a shotgun. His wife and his kids has left him, and now he's alone. So like he's like, oh well, you know, like that's really dark. Yeah, it really is. Or we can go this time. Becca needs to find Hutch as he's missing somewhere. You know, like I see a lot of possibilities. You know, like I think the cool thing with Hutch is, again, like, you know, like wherever we push the action, we could always easily bring the family. We could always make a meal out of Brady, who seems to be growing up as somebody as well. You know, like, so the world is an oyster when it comes to the Mansell family, you know?
I love that. Yeah. Now, look, you also got the Beekeeper 2 coming up with Jason Statham. What drew you to that series, and what is your vision for putting your stamp on that sequel?
I think I'm definitely drawn to the Beekeeper series just because when I watched it, I always felt, well, wow, this is essentially Statham playing one of my favorite characters in the Marvel universe, which is the Punisher, you know? Yeah. And I said, like, you know what? If I can't make a Punisher film, if the gods of film isn't allowing me to do a Punisher film yet, then I'll turn Adam Clay into my own version of the Punisher, you know, which is great. And I think Statham has that quality in him. He has that very stoic, sort of like Frank Castle-esque sort of quality. And I love that Adam Clay is definitely a guy who is quite colorful in his choice of violence. You know, like he gets really, really creative with his violence. And honestly, so far we've been having fun about like planning all this environmental type takedowns and all that stuff, which, you know, like Statham is a huge fan of. And also, like, I think one thing that draws me is definitely the escalation of just how big the villains are in this film. So you can wait for that. You can anticipate that, you know.
Well, Timo, I can't wait for Beekeeper 2. Congratulations on Nobody 2. And hopefully one day you'll get a Punisher movie, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now no one gets the pole. It's just supposed to be a tourist.
Well, don't you know?